What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the 10-7 MMA show. Wow. What's up, everybody? Just been a crazy weekend. Sorry, I'm a little congested, not feeling the best right now, but it is what it is, and the show must go on. By the way, Justin is going to be about 5 minutes late, guys, so Justin will be here soon, but I thought I'd get the show started here right off the bat. And we got a big card over from the weekend that we got to talk about. Tehran says, what's up? What's up, Tehran? Good to see you. So, yeah, it was one of the craziest cards I think I've ever seen. Probably, I heard some Twitter posts talking about the card and saying one of the top 5 exciting cards. Hold on 1 second. Okay, so yeah, one of the. All right, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna pull up the. Sorry, I got Justin here. 1 second.
Hey, yo, boys, what's up?
What's up? Hey, okay, so Justin, why do you want to hear respect your takes on Euro but can't follow no more? Peace out. Okay, somebody bro, you the only one in here that makes sense. I don't know. Donkey sir is bouncing. Okay. Tehran says, LMAO, you got idiots talking about Van beat Pantoja like he didn't. Pantoja didn't suffer an injury. He beat by default. Hats off to Van. Not his fault. True that. All right, Justin, I'm going to turn it over to you. I'm just having a little weird day today. So
yeah, no worries.
I'm going to turn it over to you. Justin is, Merab, you're buddies with him. You're a big fan of him. And I know you were saying for a long time that he is the greatest bantamweight of all time, and he's done tremendous things. This was a surprise. He was a minus 480, I believe, to win. And over Saturday, man, I watched that fight. It was one of the best fights I've ever seen. Crazy back and forth, but ultimately, Petr Yan was unreal. Can I turn it over to you, Justin, and we'll get your thoughts straight away?
Yeah, man, I tell you what, I was very fortunate. I got to be there live. I got to witness everything firsthand. The crowd was incredible, and I always talk about how terrible UFC fans are, and they're some of the worst in the sport. But everybody there from the start to beginning was just, and they had so much respect for all the fighters coming out. Merab, Petr Yan, Henry Cejudo, Payton Talbott, Pantoja, Van. Like, there was hardly any booing. There was a little bit of booing in the first match with Yan versus Guskov, or I know I'm pronouncing the name wrong, but regardless, I just want to give a shout out to the UFC fans for really coming through for the fighters. Now, getting into Merab versus Petr Yan, man, Petr Yan was just on another level. Let's talk about 27 defended takedowns. Merab only being able to land 2. Petr Yan landed like 5 for 9. Like, this guy was on another level. And we always talk about that at all aspects of sports or all likes of sports. It's so hard to beat a championship caliber fighter or a championship caliber team once, but to do it twice is one of the hardest feats in MMA. And Merab has done it time and time again. He's beaten a bunch of champions twice, including like Sean O'Malley. Went to try to do it with Petr Yan and unfortunately came up short. Now, there is a very dumb take I've been seeing because I actually took work off this morning. So yesterday, if you guys don't know, I coach high school wrestling. I had a wrestling match on Friday from 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. I had one on Saturday from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Then I went to the fights at 7. Then I was at the fights till 11. Then I had to wake up at 8 o'clock Sunday morning. I didn't get home from a wrestling tournament yesterday till 7 p.m. By the time I was home, I just didn't have time. I didn't have the energy to make the videos. So I actually took work off entirely this morning I made 3 great videos on the show.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like I said, I hated making content Saturday and Sunday. I had to make up for it today. Made 3 incredible videos on the show. So if you want a deep dive on these matches, but guys, like, there's this take on Instagram right now that Merab won the fight and he was robbed. Listen, if you score fighting from a statistic standpoint, yeah, I could see where there's the argument where Merab had like 450 strikes thrown. Petr Yan had 280. Merab had 29 takedown attempts. Petr Yan had 9. Like, if you look at it straight from a statistic standpoint, I can see what you're saying. But the damage done, like, I thought Merab was going to get finished. Petr Yan was landing these body shots, body kicks that you hear. And let me tell you, you could hear them echo through T-Mobile. And to see Merab's reaction, we've never seen a reaction like that. That left body kick from Petr Yan. Listen, I've been kicked in the body. I've had liver injuries. I don't know how he survived, and just go to show how tough this guy is. And it wasn't once, it wasn't twice. This happened 3 or 4 times. And like I said, I was in the arena. I could hear that snap live. And if you guys watch my Merab Petr Yan video that I just made about an hour ago, we replay it just so you guys can hear the snap. And I tell you what, I don't care what anybody says. Merab's still one of my favorite fighters. And, you know, he had an emotional take after. He's like, hey, don't worry about me. Just a couple of cuts on the face. No big deal. Merab went out and partied. They had a picture of him at 3 o'clock.
Oh, really?
Yeah, him at a club, just partying. This guy's a true fighter's fighter. He trains his ass off. He shows up every time. His output is like no other fighter, win or lose. Again, 29 takedown attempts, or excuse me, 29 takedown attempts. You know, that he had like 78 takedown attempts in his last 2 fights against Petr Yan. For those that you guys that don't understand what kind of output that is, it's just insane. Like, I don't know, man. And people are saying, oh, he looked off. He didn't look off to me. He looked incredible, in my opinion, to throw 400 strikes, to have 29 takedown attempts. You know, Petr Yan was just on that night. You know, both guys showed up in incredible shape. Both guys, you know, Merab came in. Here's the thing. Merab has the same game plan every fight. Heavy pace wrestle, heavy pace strike, heavy pace wrestle. Eventually, a top level guy like Petr Yan or Umar are going to figure this out. Now, can Merab go back to the drawing board and change the game plan? Or instead of changing the game plan, does he just pick up the pace and try to, instead of having 29 takedown attempts, have 49 like he did the first time? I mean, these are all questions that we're gonna get to watch in real time. I really hope Merab can come back. And, you know, as a Petr Yan fan, I'm a huge Petr Yan fan. There are so many matchups in the bantamweight division that are exciting. We have a Sugar Sean O'Malley rematch. We have Merab rematch. We have Umar and Merab. They could do Petr Yan versus Sugar Sean #2, do a rematch with Umar and Merab. The winner gets to fight the winner of Petr Yan, Sugar. There's just so many great matchups that the bantamweight division. That's not talking about Song Yadong. That's not talking about Mario Batista. And I know that, you know, these guys, but there's just so many great bantamweights that we can match up now.
Yeah, it's actually kind of interesting that Petr Yan, I know it sucks for Merab, and I was looking forward to seeing his reign continue and just establish this crazy legacy. That's one of my favorite things to watch in the sport. But Petr Yan winning actually does open up some interesting matchups and some interesting fights. I want to go back to something you mentioned. So I know you said that some people thought maybe Merab won. I haven't heard anybody say that. I think it was pretty clear that that Petr Yan won 49-46. That's at least my take from everything I've heard from the post-fight interviews. But what I did hear immediately after, and I wanted to hear your thoughts on this, because look, I have been known to say, hey, this fighter was injured. You have to bear that in mind, or that happened, or whatever, right? Petr Yan had an injured right arm going into that fight, their first fight, and he fought completely different in this fight. So maybe there's something to that. But the narrative that started coming out immediately after Merab lost was that, well, he probably shouldn't have taken this fight. It was probably too quick of a turnaround. He did too many weight cuts this year. It's too taxing on the body. And that might be the reason. Now, I wanted to hear your thoughts on that, because it's like nobody said, this is something that everybody knew was a part of the condition going in before the fight. Nobody said anything. Everybody still thought Merab, he's going to win. But people started saying it immediately after. What's your reaction to that sentiment and that notion that it was all consecutive fights and weight cuts in 2025?
Yeah, and you know, here's the thing, and I do have a take on this. I have a hot take on it as well. All these people that are saying, you know, like, oh, he shouldn't listen. None of those people have accomplished anything like Merab has. And when you have a guy like Merab that's going against the odds of having 5 title defenses in 1 year. That's 2 more title defenses than anybody ever has in a year. When you have someone that he doesn't care about that the norm and doing like having 1 or 2 title defenses a year, this guy is going for things that people have never done. And all the people that are making this criticism of, oh, it's too many weight cuts, it's too much, do that, those people have never dared to be great. And I'm not saying and nobody ever has dared to have 5 title defenses in a year. I don't think anybody's even dared to have 4. So even if it's a professional fighter, a fan, or anybody else that has this narrative, oh, that was too much. Listen, dare to be great. And when you dare to be great, you do crazy things like have this kind of output. And again, probably not the most calculated thing for him to do, but he went for it, and fuck what everybody else has. I support Merab, and man, I have so much respect for him. Again, you don't hear him coming out like, oh, too many weight cuts in 1 year. No, you have him going, hey guys, I'm fine. I lost. No big deal.
Right.
I'm going to go party. I'm going to be back. This guy is a no bullshit kind of guy. He's a true fighter's fighter. And anybody has the take that said, oh, he tried to do too much. That's like when Israel Adesanya went up to light heavyweight and tried to, or I can't, went up to light heavyweight, and everyone's like, oh, he shouldn't have done that. Listen, this is a legend trying to do legendary things. He's not a civilian. He's not a fucking pussy. He wants to do stuff that nobody ever has again before. So when he looks back at his career, he can say, I did that. Or even if he fell short like Merab did, I tried to do that. I tried to do something nobody else ever has. And all the fans and all the fighters that say otherwise need to shut their fucking mouth, because they've never tried to do anything even close to what Merab has done. And I mean, 4 title defenses in a year, going for a 5th. I don't think anybody has 4 title defenses in a year.
Yeah, no, it would have been the record if we would have gotten that done. The art of fight.
Wait. Sorry to interrupt you. It would have been the record, or it would have been a new record that he already holds at 4 title defenses.
No, I don't. I think it would have been a new record. I thought that's what people were saying. If he would have had 4 successful title defenses, I think 4 title matches might be a record.
Didn't he already have 4 title matches this year, and this was his 5th?
No, I don't think so. Let me double check. Hold on. Merab. And by the way, I'm going to post a couple comments here. The art of fight trolling, I think, might be new to the show. He says, yes, agreed. Much respect for Merab, legend. Petr Yan impressed the hell out of me. Proved me wrong. Yeah, I think proved everybody wrong. Again, Merab was a minus 480. That's crazy. Justin, your boy Dan Hooker is fighting BSD. But let's go back to Tehran's comment here. Justin, we talked a lot about Merab, the champ. It is quite sad to see what happened. Talk a little bit about Petr Yan and what you saw from him, bro. The striking, holy smokes, was beautiful. The cardio was amazing, and the takedown attempts, the fact that he landed multiple and actually had offensive wrestling built into his arsenal. Can you talk about all of that?
Yeah, man, Petr Yan just was on another level that night. He really showed up, dialed in. You and I talk a lot about this, about getting in the flow state. I mean, again, 29 takedown attempts, stuffed 27 of them. I believe he had 9 takedown attempts himself, landed 5 of them. Nobody takes Merab down. And, Merab still had more control time. I think he had like over 5 minutes of control time, where Petr Yan had like 2 minutes and 19 seconds. I know maybe that might not be exactly it, but Petr Yan came in with an incredible game plan. You can tell he's been working his wrestling defense. I would love to see the guys that he worked with in his fight camp to defend that many takedowns. He just did everything perfect. And think about Merab, that even the output he had of 5 minutes control time, he threw over 400 punches. And the way he took the damage to his body, he never really slowed down for a long period of time. I'm not saying when he got kicked in the body, when he got kicked in the body, he didn't step back and recover. But as soon as he was recovered, he went right back on the offensive. Guys take body kicks like that, and it slows them down for the rest of the fight. I never saw Merab, but that's another thing Petr Yan did. He kept going back to the well. He kept punching Merab in the body. He kept kicking him in the body, thinking it would probably slow him down. And he did have temporary moments of being slowed down. But overall, Merab was able to recover and keep that output going. I really think hitting Merab in the body was a big plan of Petr Yan's to try to slow him down.
Yeah, and I think it was the slowest that I've ever seen Merab look in that 5th round. That was the first time that he actually looked like he was a little winded, but I think you're right. It was from those body shots. Petr Yan now at the top, man. It's so exciting to see him have some new or potentially fresh matchups. Obviously, Merab, I imagine, is going to get a rematch immediately, but how much time he'll need to recover and recoup and train again, that will be the question. But there's a lot of very interesting things that could now go down in the bantamweight division. Maybe a match, Umar versus Petr Yan. I think that's what should be coming. if Merab, what would you like to see Merab do next? Would you like to just see him sit out for like 4 months, 6 months, and then come back and get an immediate title shot? What do you think makes sense?
I want to see Merab go in the springtime, and I actually bet he's going to go in the spring. I bet that Merab fights by March. I mean, his face, like if you guys watch the video, I did this. There was an emotional interview with Merab, and he talks about how he's physically fine, how he just has some cuts on his face. He's going to get back. He loves his family. He loves this. He's not talking about any long-term injuries. So if he just has some damage on his face, I could see Merab jumping back into training by the end of the year, wanting to get a rematch by March. Because here's the thing. The UFC isn't going to wait around for that rematch. You know, there's speculation that Petr Yan will get one title defense and then maybe fight Merab again. But I can see Merab turning it around, and again, January, February, March. I could see him fighting in the next 4 or 5 months.
And we got some crazy stuff. If Sean O'Malley beats Song Yadong, I wouldn't be surprised if he goes back in there and gets a rematch against Petr Yan for the title. I would not be surprised. All right, we got a couple comments. We've got Kojo saying hi. Tehran saying what's up to West. West says, yo, Tehran, what's up, Western? AJF7979 says, I thought Petr Yan was going to be a dominant champ before the Aljo fight, and then the knee happened, and then O'Malley, and then he fell off. I'm happy to have him back. Yo, dude, people forgot, like I did too. Petr Yan is so good. I mean, Merab steamrolled him, but the first time. But it's crazy. He did mention, I know you hate the injury talk, Justin, but he did mention his arm was basically unusable. And then this time, it's like we saw a totally different version of Merab. It was absolutely crazy. I mean, sorry, totally different version of Petr Yan. It was absolutely crazy. So all of that's valid. The Art of Trolling says Yan is champion outside of Merab. Who should be his first event? I think if it's not Merab, it's Umar. But I think it's going to depend on timing. So we shall see. Merab says he lost because he didn't want him. Yo, this I heard. Okay. Kojo brings up a great point. I was not saying that this was an excuse, but like I did hear Merab in his post-fight say, hey, I wanted to make it an exciting fight. I didn't want to grapple too much and make it boring. So I hope you guys appreciated it. Was this Merab's way of saying, hey, I could have won if I would have had a more grappling intensive style in this fight, but I chose to stand and bang to make it a fun fight for the audience? Was that what he was saying, or am I misinterpreting that?
I think that's what he was saying, but here's the thing. He had 29 takedown attempts, all right? You're a math guy. That's over 4 takedown attempts a round, all right? That's like 4.2 almost.
7. Or no,
4.7.
sorry. 5. No. What am I saying? 5 rounds. It's about
29.
6. Let's say 5.8.
We'll say 5.8 takedown attempts per round. I mean, that doesn't sound like he's trying to get a strike. Not to mention, I mean, if you look at the stats from the first fight to the second fight, he threw over 400 significant strikes in the first one. He had 49 takedown attempts. He threw over 400 significant strikes in this one. Had 29 takedown attempts. You know, here's the thing, man. And I go back to my career because beating a guy twice is so hard. For instance, when I fought Jesse Gross the first time as an amateur, he whooped my ass up and down the mat. All right. He ended up finishing me in the second round from body shots. It was just an embarrassing thing. About 3 months later, I get with James Lee. I get with Kara Rowe, my coach at the time. We rewatched the fight, the things I did wrong, the things Jesse did good. We fought the second time. I whooped his ass up and down the mat, finished him in the third fight. Because the adjustments, when you get in there with somebody, you can, as a fighter, you can see what they do good and what they do bad and what you did bad. And you can make the adjustments in real time in your training. Like, hey, he did this really good. That surprised me, because watching it on tape is one thing, but then getting action in there and feeling it, sometimes it's the strength difference, sometimes it's the technique difference, you know, but you can make these adjustments in your mind. And I think that's what Petr Yan did.
Got you. That's a very, yep.
Oh, yeah, beating someone like Petr Yan once, let alone twice, it's the hardest thing to do in combat sports.
Well, there you go. And it was a tall task. Unfortunately, it looks like too tall. By the way, if you guys could like the stream, welcome everybody. We're going to go through all these comments. We got tons of them. Kojo says, only fighters who never get booed when they just wrestle are Khabib and GSP. I think Merab actually wouldn't get booed now because he's becoming so beloved. O'Malley rematch and Umar are awesome matchups for Yan. 100% agree. Look, he said you have the best Tom Aspinall videos. Let's go. Dude, I do my research on those Tom Aspinall videos. The last one I felt like I made was a banger, and I think I really got onto something, but nobody seemed to watch it. So I guess the whole fact they had a fractured orbital in the right eye, nobody seems to think that was, I think it's crazy because he got shallow poked in the right eye. How the heck is that fractional orbital fracture coming in? It must have been from a punch, and that could have caused. Anyways, whatever. It is what it is. People don't want to watch my video. It's fine. Kayla Harrison looked smaller than Amanda Nunes. Did she? No way. I didn't see them square off, but nah, Kayla Harrison's gonna smash. We might have a round robin situation. Western says with Yan, Merab, and Sean. Yeah, it's crazy. O'Malley beats Song Yadong. Give him the title. Yeah, it's gonna happen, dude. It's Sean O'Malley. The UFC loves him too much. He's gonna be right back in the mix. Okay, your co-host and spitting facts. Yeah, 100%. As always, Justin always spits facts. What you talking about, dog? No, yeah, thank you. We appreciate it. Yan did it. MGAL4 Productions is back. What's up? What's up? And Van is GOAT. And yeah, or Yan is GOAT. Maybe you're saying peace up, Merab, Huzaifa James. What's up? Shemaev, king of UFC. Let's go. Okay, we got a lot to talk about, so we got to move on. Holy smokes. I'm going to come back to Pantoja versus Joshua Van. That was a bit, we're going to talk about it if we have time. I gotta hear your take about Henry Cejudo versus Payton Talbott. Now I know you, Justin was live at the fights. He had like great seats. He's very lucky. I was so jealous, but apparently the crowd was just really getting behind Henry Cejudo, and I love that, man. Henry Cejudo didn't do any of the shtick this time. He was very sincere. He was reflecting. He was nostalgic. It was incredible to see all his interviews coming in. He had a relationship with Payton Talbott, and dude, the guy gave one of the best fights of all time. It was incredible, but Payton Talbott is just so dang good, athletic, talented, well-rounded, and the guy, he's obviously been grinding. His wrestling has catapulted up, and he took Henry Cejudo down. Justin, take it away. Give us your thoughts and your breakdown on this card, which to me, I put the fight card was amazing. To me, this was one of the best fights I've ever seen. That's my humble opinion. Take it away.
Yeah, man. I just made a video on this, so all the information's fresh. Like I said, I was there. We had incredible seats. We were in the 50-yard line of T-Mobile, up so I could see perfectly down in. I could, typically when you're there, you're watching the screen, this and that. But my seats were just so incredible. And being such a Henry Cejudo fan, I mean, the king of cringe, he gets a lot of hate because of his cringy antics. But, dude, I know the guy personally. I've hung out with him a lot personally. He's one of the nicest, most humble guys you could ever meet, especially from the level he has. And a lot of people don't understand what Henry Cejudo has done for the UFC. And I'm not going to talk much about Payton Talbott. I know you're a huge Payton Talbott fan. I know you're going to make a Payton Talbott video. So I don't even want to talk about Payton Talbott because, you know him so much better than I do. But one thing I do know is Henry Cejudo, and we're talking about the king of cringe. We're talking about the former flyweight champion. We're talking about the former bantamweight champion. We're talking about Olympic gold medalist. Now, here's a stat. No, there's only been 2 UFC fighters to ever claim Olympic gold. Henry being the first, Kayla Harrison being the second. What a feat in itself. And there was such I'm not even lying. After this fight, I knew he lost. After this fight, I was almost in tears, man. Not because that he lost. It's just because it was such an emotional moment. I don't know if you guys watched it, but they did a tribute to him.
Yeah,
they did all his videos in the Olympics. They did all his videos coming into the UFC, losing Demetrius Johnson. Not only losing, but getting knocked out by Demetrius Johnson, coming back, winning a split decision, having a very close fight with Marlon Vera, beating Marlon Vera in the 3rd round. It was just dude, I'm not even joking. I'm sitting here wanting to cry because of how emotional. And everybody, everyone talks about how much they hate Henry Cejudo. Listen, I've been to a lot of live events. This was the best live event. Everybody in that arena was on their feet chanting Henry, Henry during the fight, after the fight. Like, love him or hate him, the king of cringe is one of the best. And here's something a lot of people don't know unless you're a long-term fan. Dana White said when Henry Cejudo fought Demetrius Johnson the 2nd time, if Henry Cejudo loses, Dana White's cutting the flyweight division. So we can actually say Henry Cejudo saved the flyweight division. And not a lot of people know that. And here's the other thing. Like, man, I'm emotional talking about it right now because here's the thing with MMA. If you stick around in the sport long enough, whether you're an amateur fighter, a regional professional fighter, you make it to the UFC like I did, but kind of like a lower level UFC guy, or you make it to the top. Eventually, if you stick around long enough, you will go out on your shield. I promise. You look at all the greats, BJ Penn, Anderson Silva, the list, Michael Bisping. There's only 2 guys that I can think of that didn't go out on their shield, and that's George St. Pierre and Khabib. And I tell you what, Khabib was great. I don't think he's the greatest of all time. He had 3 title defenses, but if he gets up there and tries to defend him, he had 3 title defenses total. Merab went for 5 in 1 year. If you stick around this sport long enough, these young guys, 4.
Yeah, that's okay. Keep going. You're spitting facts.
If
Keep
you
going.
stick around this sport long enough, you will go out in your shield. And the most amazing thing and the most emotional thing about it was for me, because this was a true passing of the torch. All right. You have a guy that's been there and done that. And Henry Cejudo has a better resume than almost anybody in the UFC at all weight classes. Again, Olympic gold medalist, bantamweight champion, flyweight champion, beat Demetrius Johnson, who to me is the greatest flyweight of all time. He went up to 35, handled business, beat TJ Dillashaw, former UFC champion, one of the greats of all time. He has one of the most impressive resumes. Now you have Payton Talbott coming in on the other side, who's this red-hot up-and-comer. And Henry Cejudo didn't try to – I mean, he in that second round was the most emotionally charged second round I've ever seen, because Henry Cejudo is getting his ass whooped, and he wasn't trying to take this fight to the ground. He wasn't trying to hold him up against the fence and slow everything down. He was out there standing and banging with the much better striker, the much rangy striker, taking so much damage. And there are points in that fight to where Henry could have shot in, gave up a guillotine, and just went out like that. He could have there was a couple times where he was rocked. He could have tried to look for a way out by trying to pull guard and getting finished on the bottom. Henry Cejudo stayed on his feet and banged him out for 15 minutes. And as a fighter, that is what fighting to me is all about. All right, we talk about exciting fights and Hamzat and Khabib and this and that. And when these fights happen, like Shevchenko, these fights happen and you're all excited about it. You're like, oh, this is the greats doing the greats. Fighting to me is about exactly what Henry Cejudo displayed. It's about perseverance. It's about, going not necessarily with a great game plan, but going out on your shield. Fighting to me is about being a warrior at Spark. And when you got guys like Hamzat, who are great and they're the greatest ever, and I know you have so much hype about them. You have guys like Islam, who sometimes will play it safe and try to get guys down. Like, that's great. But to me, is a true warrior is somebody that can persevere and go out on their shield, and no matter what's happening in real time, like Henry Cejudo was getting his ass whooped. He didn't try and deviate from the game plan, or he did deviate from the game plan. He tried to strike, and he had so many ways out to where he could have just been rocked and knocked out, but he just kept fighting and fighting. And that to me is what fighting is about. It's not about winning and losing. It's about being a fighter's fighter and going out there, taking all the damage, persevering, and trying your best. And that to me was arguably one of the greatest fights I've ever seen, and a true passing of the torch, a guy that's been there and done that in every aspect of the sport. Now you have Payton Talbott up and coming. I mean, as you can tell how excited I am. But when we talk about fighting exciting matchups, that was an exciting fight in my opinion.
Absolutely agree with everything you said. We're definitely massive respect to Henry Cejudo, and I think you just gave him an amazing homage there, and I hope he hears it. We got a lot of nice comments for Henry. Henry banged it out. AJF7979 says, I was actually surprised that he never took the easy way out. Respect, period. And it was incredible. And Cejudo is an absolute legend. It was a beautiful fight. What a way to go out. Even though he lost, I thought it was incredible. Now let me wax poetic a little bit.
Hold on 1 second. I got one more thing to say.
Go for it.
It's just because the comment, I'm walking up, so I should have fine service. I'm on my iPad. But yes, that's the thing. What the comment just said. He could have shot in and tried to make this a boring match. But here's the thing. Fighters are a lot of times remembered by their last fight. And I tell you what, Henry Cejudo is going to get more props losing that fight, fighting the way he did, than had he won a boring decision. That fight will be remembered as one of the greatest bantamweight fights of all time. We're talking about a legend of the sport going out on his shield. He could have tried to slow the fight down by grappling, by wrestling. He could have pulled guard and just held him there and be like, okay, well, I lost the decision, no big deal. But he didn't. He went out there on his shield and took so much damage and just showed the world how tough he really is. And when he looked at Dana White and says, I just don't have it anymore, I totally respect that, and I get that. He's an older guy. That's just, man, I'm just so excited, man, that he went out. That's how every fighter in the UFC wants to go out. We dream of our last fight being like this fight. It's not about winning or losing. Had he beat Payton Talbott, then what? So what? He beat an up-and-coming guy. We're talking about the former champ. It's actually better for the UFC that Payton won, and it's better for Henry Cejudo that that he lost that fight that way than winning a boring decision. He'll be remembered. I mean, that's one of the greatest bantamweight fights of all time, and he'll be remembered for all the new fans that got to see him fight, because a lot of these new fans didn't get to see him fight against DJ, didn't get to see him fight against Marlon Vera, unless you're an old school fan. But all the UFC fans, the new and old UFC fans, got to watch that, and he's going to be remembered by that fight for a long time.
AJF7979 says 100% Justin. I went and followed him on X immediately. Massive respect. Yeah. Okay. So let me say this, dude. It was one of the best fights. I got to say this too. Even though Henry lost 30-27, he looked great, dude. His wrestling looked good, but his striking looked good. He was kicking, throwing punches. He was getting in there, doing his damage. Now, let me wax. And so, unbelievable fight. I agree with everything you said about how brilliant it was, how amazing it was, and how, like you said, every fighter can only wish and hope to go out like that on their shield. Hold on, I'm going to mute you for a second. But I agree with everything that you're saying, and I was blown away by that fight on the edge of my seat. Now, let's talk about Payton Talbott, because we got to give this kid his respect, because he was the winner. He was the victor. He's an up-and-coming rising star in the UFC, and he showed up and showed out. So many people were picking Henry Cejudo because they thought the grappling differential was going to be too great for him to overcome. But instead, what happened? Payton Talbott obviously went in there, worked on his wrestling game. I bet you he told the UFC that he was confident he could get this done, because he knew that he had the skills and he had built up the wrestling ability to go back and forth and go toe-to-toe with Henry Cejudo, and he did just that. It was absolutely unbelievable, landing, I think, 2 or 3 of his own takedowns himself, and what a funny reaction when he got him on the ground. But aside from the takedowns and the great scrambles, okay, Henry got on top of him at one point. He kept moving, kept scrambling, showed no quit, no tiring whatsoever. But Payton Talbott on the feet, that guy's striking is so good. The slickness, the way he was mixing in the kicks, the punches, the knees, and then at the very end, even going a little wild, throwing some spinning back kicks, showing his athleticism. This guy, it's so exciting to see a guy with his own style, a great personality, somebody who can be a huge star in the UFC, show that not only do they have the personality and all these other elements to be a big star, but their fighting ability is right on that same level. And he showed that he's got what it takes, and now he's going to probably catapult tomorrow in the top 10. On top of that, we've got very exciting matchups that are being discussed. Somebody, I think it was MGAL4 Productions, said that Payton Talbott should fight Corey Sandhagen next. Now, the one...
Sorry to cut you off. I got to go.
Okay, no worries, Justin. I'm going to mute you because there's an echo. All right, take it easy, buddy. And that was a great... we got a great speech from Justin there about this fight. But coming back to Payton Talbott, listen... People are saying Payton Talbott versus Corey Sandhagen, or not people, I should say MMA Guru. That's a great call. I could see Payton Talbott. I mean, if Henry Cejudo or Song Yadong loses, whoever loses, we could have not Henry Cejudo. I'm losing my mind today. We could have Payton Talbott against one of those fighters, and we can really just catapult him up. Now, if you put him against Corey Sandhagen, that's a huge step up. I think Sandhagen's like 3 or 4 in the division, so we're shooting him to the top. Sandhagen, and then after that, it's a title shot. Bantamweight is on fire. That was the best result we could imagine possible. Literally the best. The way that Justin explained is absolutely right. The UFC and us fans, we wanted to see Payton Talbott, the young buck, rise up and beat a former champ. That's huge for him. We wanted to see just a crazy bang-out brawl. We got that. We wanted to see Henry Cejudo go out on the shield. We got that. Everything is unbelievable. MGAL4 Production says, how did Henry eat that knee? Exactly. Grit, determination, strength of character. This guy is the real deal. Former double champ. If you forgot, now you know. This guy is amazing, and just what a champ. And I love that all the cringe stuff, everything he did, it just melted away. And for the final fight, Henry was just Henry, and the crowd embraced him. Absolutely amazing. I can't wait to see him come back and talk on pound for pound. Teron says, I want to see Payton move to featherweight. He's too big for bantamweight. Well, I hope he sticks around for a little bit. I hope he at least can become champ at bantamweight and then move up. But yeah, I could see him moving up. And the guy's so young, so that's definitely in the cards. Okay, let's talk about some of these other fights. We also had this crazy one, right? We had Alexandre Pantoja versus Joshua Van. What do we even say about this? This was a bit of a freak accident, but we can't say total freak accident. I think that's unfair to Joshua Van. If he was walking and just sprained his ankle or twisted his knee or something along those lines, I get it. Freak accident. This wasn't a freak accident. This was Joshua Van. I mean, it was, but Joshua Van pushed him down, right? They were engaged in a little grappling exchange. He pushed him down. He posted with his arm, and it just landed funny on his elbow, and it popped his elbow out. Was that a pre-existing injury? Was that total freak? Had he never dislocated the elbow? And by the way, I do believe it was the elbow, not the shoulder, even though Dana White said the shoulder. It may have been something that had been bothering him. And that's just how it goes, man. Like, Van is the real champ. Pantoja is going to have to go and get recovery, and we'll see when he's going to come back. Dana White believes it's going to be a while, but we'll see if he comes back, and I'm sure he's going to get an immediate rematch. But It just may not be Joshua Van's next fight. Joshua Van might fight Manel Kape. We'll see what happens with that fight. There's lots of other people. You know who I want, though? There's one guy that I want back in the flyweight division. Can anybody guess? That's right. It's Muhammad Mokaev. So I would love to see Muhammad Mokaev come back and challenge Joshua Van. That would be amazing. Imagine that matchup. Imagine Muhammad Mokaev get that belt. And then when Pantoja returns, we get to see Pantoja versus Muhammad Mokaev after he's already champ versus former champ. That would be amazing. MGAL4 Production says Cejudo and his buddy Gastelum have the best chins, 100%. Yeah, I mean, like, kind of, but not really. Didn't violate any rules. It's not the total BS way. They fought. They got in the cage. He got an injury. The ref called it. I mean, it is what it is. Yes, it's a very crazy freak accident, but as I mentioned, if it was just him tripping over himself or something, okay, that would be really anticlimactic. At least Van initiated the push and caused him to post and whatever. So I think we do have to give Van a bit more credit than that. Andrew Nance is back in the mix. What's up? He says, let's effing go. Yeah, Van, dude. New champ, great champ, young champ, legendary champ. And we shall see what goes down in his first title defense. A lot of changing of the guards in this card. By the way, if everybody could like the stream right now, we'd really appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, for joining on the show today. We are having so much fun. Justin had to jump off for wrestling practice, but I mean, what a card. How exciting that we had these results. I know this one was a weird one, and a lot of people were very heartbroken for Pantoja, but the fact that we got two new champs on this one pay-per-view card at the end of the ESPN era, what do you guys think? How did this hold up for the last pay-per-view of all time? People are saying it's one of the best. I think it's pretty crazy that it went out like this. AJF7979 says, I was hoping Van was going to win. He can't beat the real champ. He can't beat the real champ until he wins. He's got to beat someone. He beats so you're saying he's not the real champ in your mind until he beats somebody? Yeah, he's a real champ in my opinion. It's what it says on paper. He technically won, so he's a real champ. Don't want to take anything away. Andrew Nance says, YAN for Petr Yan. Also an amazing, amazing fight. You can rewind the show later and watch what Justin had to say. He really said a lot of great things about Merab. That was amazing. We also got this guy, Tatsuro Taira, on the hunt. This guy is such a legend. The flyweight division is kind of on fire, right? All of a sudden, we got Taira. We've got Joshua Van in the mix at the top. Maybe Muhammad Mokaev's coming back. Apparently, his relationship with the UFC has been repaired to some extent, so that's gonna be happening soon. But Tatsuro Taira, it might be the first ever Japanese champion in the UFC. They're even talking about having a fight in Japan. So imagine Taira fighting, but that's another possibility. Taira fighting Van next for the belt. I have a feeling the UFC is going to make that. Now, let's talk about this fight. And let's talk about the finish in particular. Because the analysts were saying, I don't know if this is how it was scored. The analysts were like, well, Brandon Moreno had that triangle locked in and he was close to finishing. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's legit. But so they were saying that Brandon Moreno might have actually gotten round one. Well, Tatsuro Taira put it on him, showed his well-rounded, versatile game. Dude, this guy is so good all over. He's the real deal. And then when he got Brandon Moreno flattened out, everybody is crying that it was an early stoppage. Oh, that looked a little early. I guess I'm the only one that disagrees. That, to me, was not an early stoppage whatsoever. He had him fully flattened out, and then he delivered, I think, like 8 shots to his head. Boom, boom, boom. That did not look early one bit to me. Do people disagree or agree with me on that? I want to hear. Yeah, thank you, MGAL4 Productions. Not early at all. That was crazy. Oh, AJF7979. That's why I want to see Taira Van in Japan. Imagine it rhymes. Taira versus Van in Japan. Let's go. Watching from Puerto Rico, who's able to go. What's up? Oh, from Puerto Rico. What a legend. Yeah, Taira, dude, smashed him. Taira's so good. You know, we had that other, what's that other fighter that came up and challenged for the belt and kind of got beat pretty badly by Pantoja. I can't remember. That guy was Akura. I can't remember his name. I'm blanking right now. But that guy didn't have the ground game and the grapples that Taira has. So this guy's the real deal. He's well-rounded. He's going to bring a brand new fan base. How dope would it be? Even MMA Guru said if they do a UFC event in Japan, he might actually go because it's where this sport and where MMA in Pride and all these other organizations kind of began. So how incredible would it be to have a fight there finally in Japan? And I bet you Taira beats Joshua Van. Also, Taira is what, 25, 26? The guy is super young. Another amazing, exciting champ. The UFC, guys, it's out of control. Flyweight's on fire. Bantamweight's on fire. I mean, featherweight's always dope. Lightweight's always dope. Welterweight's going crazy. Great time as we enter into one fight left, and then we enter into the Paramount era. Last fight that we want to talk about, or I want to talk about, was Yan Błachowicz versus Anthony Smith Part 2, aka Bogdan Guskov. Yo, this guy looks exactly like Anthony Smith. It's crazy. But I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on this fight. Even this fight, how disappointing is it to get a majority draw? But Yan Błachowicz is at 2. How many? That's the statistically getting a majority draw is so improbable. Getting 2 in your career, I mean, what are the odds? But anyways, he got a majority draw. But as far as majority draws go, yo, that fight was lit. I thought Bogdan was for sure going to win. Then going into the third round, Yan Błachowicz just comes back with the fire and fury like a phoenix rising from the ashes. He was looking beaten up, battered, and bruised. And then he almost had Bogdan going down and going out. I mean, the back and forth was insane. Like I said, it's the one majority draw where I'm like, cool. They both fought their hearts out, gave an amazing fight. And that's that. What were your guys? Let me know in the comments. What was your guys' favorite fight of the night and why? So let's see if you've got that. The Japan card could be huge, says AJ. 100% agree. Yan Błachowicz is the GOAT. Oh, my God. Oh, he's 43. Holy smokes. He's only 2 years younger than me. That's crazy. I scored a draw. Yep. Yan versus Roundtree next. Is that what you guys are hearing? I mean, I'd be down. Or not Yan. Sorry, you're saying Yan. Yeah, Yan Błachowicz. Sorry. Yeah. Not Petr Yan, obviously. Yeah, I'd be down for Yan Błachowicz versus Roundtree. That'd be a great fight. Yan, dude, what a madman. And just to show that heart, supposedly, I don't know if this is true. I heard somebody say that Yan Błachowicz wasn't able to lift weights, something like that for the whole I don't know if that's legit or not, but that's kind of crazy. But he's still able to fight. I'll tell you what. All in all, if we give this card a grade or a score out of 10, I don't know what else to give it other than a 10. I'm talking about the main card in particular. Every fight was insane. Every fight was beautiful. The fights that were decisions were incredible. Payton Talbott versus Henry Cejudo. Normally, we love to see finishes, but that was a decision fight, and that was one of the best fights I've ever seen. The title fight, one of the best fights I've ever seen. We had the disappointment with Pantoja. That was a little bit weird, but I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. Was it a 10? Was it a 9.5? I know you can't go lower than a 9. There's no way. Who you got in Holloway versus Oliveira? Oliveira. I'd say Oliveira. Yan is a monster. It was a great card. So great. Yeah, Western says Oliveira as well. The prelims delivered 2, says Tehran. Okay, guys, I'm going to start to wrap up the show. We covered all the topics. We talked about UFC 323 from top to bottom. The last pay-per-view, ladies and gentlemen. 9.3 says Western. This is it. This is our show. I had a blast. I had a blast watching it. I had a blast reviewing it. Justin really spit some facts. I hope you guys enjoyed today. My voice is dying. I got to sign off. It's been a crazy, lot of stuff has happened the last couple of days. I got to sign off. Thank you guys so much for joining. If you're still around, I really appreciate all of you. And I appreciate, obviously, the longtime folks that have been on here for forever. Tehran, Western, obviously, and MGAL4 Productions. Thank you, guys. Thank you, boys. Andrew Nance, thank you. Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate it. Doing the show is like therapy for me at times, so I need it. We all need a little bit of that sometimes, right? Thank you guys so much for joining, and we will see you guys in the next episode. Take it easy.